hockey friends and families around the world, and welcome back to another edition, the first edition of the year 2025. That sounds futuristic 30 years ago. It doesn't really work anymore. Listen, it's the new year. You're here. You made it. You're through winter break. Maybe you played a ton. Maybe you played none. But we're here to talk about how to finish the season strong. Whether you're having a good season, a bad season, a mediocre season, a horrible season, an exciting season, put whatever word you want in there. The three of us are going to discuss today how to finish your season strong. And helping me today, as always, the best line mates in hockey, Christie Burns and Mike Benelli. Guys, we've made it to another year. It's 2025. It's the quarter century mark. Wow, that hurt saying that more than I thought it would. What do we go from here? Christie, get us out of this.
How to stay alive in 2025.
There we go.
Let's see. So how's everybody feeling now? I mean, you kind of touched on it, Lee. Some people are probably feeling really high because their season has been fantastic. And others might be feeling pretty low because it seems like the season is never going to end.
Yeah.
But so, all right. So how do you manage those highs and lows? All right. Maybe the kids are starting to get a little antsy too. Maybe you're seeing a little bit of burnout at this point. One of our coaches, and you'll see this in the USA Hockey Magazine article this month, one of the coaches I interviewed, talked about ways to kind of get everybody propped up again, coaches, parents, and the kids. And for the kids, he had a really fun idea to do for example, fun drills, mix up your drills. He talked about the candy drill, where he would put candy in the middle of the ice and the kids have to race and grab a piece and time them out to see how fast they can go. And which I think is such a great idea because now you're using kind of a fun incentive, doing the same kind of drills, but in a different way, a creative, fun way. So I think that's one way you can kind of make the season a little less routine and rigorous. Is going to break it up and do some different things. I think now's the time to start trying it out. Mike, have you done that with your kids that you've coached?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good time to do. If it depends on what your schedule is. I mean, most of us in the youth hockey world, right, have probably played like some kind of Thanksgiving tournament, Christmas tournament, holiday tournament. Some not many. There's not a lot of coaches that just take off for 3 weeks. There's always something in there, but it's really a good time when you come back from the break, which I don't know in hockey terms, there really wasn't the break. I mean, you got off on Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve, and
our break's in July,
and that was it, right? I mean, when I was coaching high school hockey, we used to have New Year's Eve hockey, so it was like so you didn't really get a break there either, right? Because it was the only way I could keep the kids from drinking. So I just like, okay, we're going to have a practice on New Year's Eve. And then we just make it easy and everybody had fun. But I think it was, this is a really good time to just remind people about the mission and make it as fun as possible. Like this is the time of year to have fun, whether you're doing great and plugging and plowing away, or you're struggling and maybe looking for another way to, I guess, reset is the word, right? But another way to get people motivated. Just create some games, create some competition, create a little mini tournament, just try to put yourself in a good situation to, get people while they're in the mood of reconciliation and new beginnings, right? So take advantage of that. People are thinking that through the holidays, and take advantage of the fact that you have an opportunity to remind them that, hey, it's a new year, whether it might be in the middle of the year, but it really is a new year. Take advantage of that and use it to help your kids have a better experience.
Right.
And Lee, sounds like vanilla clause here.
Yeah. But I think Mike hit on
the games and competition, like that kind of stuff's cool. I mean, and especially if you weren't with your team over the holidays, it's like you're saying, it's like the coach is creating these competition based little games. And it depends on the age group of your kids, but there's so many different fun ways you can motivate the kids through, a reward system or you could give away the gifts you didn't like for Christmas or something. I don't know. Just have a great, opportunity to put people into a good state of mind.
Right. And you raise a good point. A lot of people are making their New Year's resolutions. So it's a great time to take advantage of that, Lee.
Yeah, well, look, let's talk about a few things here. And this is what I think the listeners will find funny, whether you're a coach, a parent, or a kid. The lists here of what you need to do at this time of the season are pretty similar if you're having a good season or a bad season, right? Because there's a consistency in coaching and there's a consistency in the season that no matter where you are, there's guiding principles you should be following. So I think the first step at this point of the year as a coach, and I'm speaking as a coach, is to maybe revisit your guiding principles. If you don't have guiding principles, get some, look them up, find some, right? I think all of the best coaches I've ever worked with, played for, the franchises and organizations that find success have some guiding principles. So I think the first thing is to go back to them, make sure you're adhering to them, or make some notes of, okay, we haven't been doing this that well. We should look into that. Christie, I am all for breaking up the monotony, having some fun. One of the things I've been incorporating into my practices over the last few years is I used to be very rigid this time of year when I was younger and was like, no, we need to get back to work. And I think that while that's true, what does getting back to work mean? I like to throw in a little fun now into the beginning of my practices. And this is all the way up even into it, I'll say adults. But now I'm starting my practices with a game where we're having a little 3-on-3 tournament. It's a 2-minute game. We start every practice with it. It just gets everybody into the mood to compete. Something I've been speaking about to a lot lately is how long does it take you, if you're a kid, to turn on that competition engine, right? And we've noticed this in some of the, especially Mike, for you, the off-ice drills I do with the younger groups. It might take them 15 or 20 minutes to kind of turn the competitive engine on, right? For whatever reason. So I try and do that right away. So right away at practices, let's get the competitive juices going. I start with the tournament. Christy, I love your candy idea. That's competitive, but turn the competitive engine on, right? Again, we can forget. This is so true. You can forget these kids now. The hockey season's too long. I will be the first one to say that. All right. And now we're way past the halfway point. They've just been through winter break. They got to go back to school. They're probably feeling the season a bit. I know as adults, we like to say, oh, they have boundless energy. They're fine. Well, they've been playing for 4 or 5 months now, right? They might need a mental break too. They might need a second here of just, hey, let's get back into it. Let's find the competitive juices and get it flowing. I think it's also important to remember, guys, parents, we burn out too. We've just been through the holidays. It's a new year. All of that stuff comes back to us too. Your kids are exhausting. Somebody's sick. Everything's happening right now. You need to reset as well, right? So that's kind of my first point is no matter what season you're having, go back to your guiding principles, take a look at your season. Are you following those things? The second thing is maybe to look at what is the win for you now, right? I've always said winning can be defined in so many different ways. You might be on the path to potentially a championship season or something like that. You also might be on the path where your team is not in that road, but you have to develop these kids. And the win now is making sure that they're developing and getting better for the next season. I think as coaches, sometimes we can get a little too locked into this season's success, which is very important, but we can't forget you're developing a hockey player. So whatever age you're at, whether they're going to be in the second year of that age group or moving up, I always like to ask myself, am I preparing these kids to be great for next season? Am I giving them the tools they need to become better hockey players? At the end of the day, I could do this episode at any point of the year. If we're not developing them, if they are not becoming better hockey players, I'm not doing my job. And I think that's an important thing to come back to at this time of the year. Maybe look at each individual player. If you've done goal setting, look at their goals, review their goals. If you have not done goal setting, now is a great touch point in the season to sit down and say, hey, we've got 3 months left. What do you want to accomplish in these 3 months? This is what I think. Have a little bit of a coach-player meeting. All right, you can do this at any age, guys. You can't do that with 10-year-olds. Why not? Why not? They have the biggest area for growth. It's a great time to talk to them about goal setting, right? So again, I'm a little all over the place.
Yeah,
but I think it's just coming back to the home here and starting over with that.
I want to get on another topic because that's great, Lee. Because both of you are coaches, and yes. I've seen this in the past with my kids' coaches. This time of year, some of the positivity that you felt and saw and experienced in the beginning of the season gets sanded,
Mm,
you know?
that's a good
And
word. Yeah.
right. And when they come into the rink at this point of the season, you can see they're a little grumpier, maybe kind of snapping a little bit quicker at the kids. And when that happens, it definitely feeds into the team. I've
100%.
seen it as an observer in the stands watching this happen. So maybe at this point, maybe coaches don't even realize it. You know, I'm thinking, yeah, there's a lot of wear and tear on these folks, these men and women who are volunteering their time. And you know, you're balancing a lot, schedules and kids issues and parents coming at you
Health.
at all angles. So, what do you guys do to keep that positivity at this moment of the season?
Mike, you want to go first?
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
mean,
Mike has to say first.
no, well, I mean, I think it all, you know, basically right now, right? Everybody's kind of defined. You're defined as a coach. The parents are defined on who they are. You kind of define the players, right? Good or bad. You're like, okay, this player is this and this player is that. And, you know, all these people have they're kind of in their space that you know. So if you're a progressive coach, if you're a new coach, if you're just a coach that wants to have success, then you're going to have to then first redefine you and make sure that the definition of you is not the grumpy, disgruntled, the kids stink. Your past
Humbug.
your past coaches must have been the worst people in the world, developmentally wise, because you've given me this crap to work with. Like just so there's all these different things that happen, and at the same time, and Lee pointed this a little bit about your kind of your central values, right, and your goals as a parent and a child and a player. You need to sit aside and say, well, how have I defined myself? And because I'm not one. I've never fallen into you only get one chance to make a first impression. In a lot of parts of life, yes, that's true. But in sports, you get to redefine yourself all the time, good or bad. Like you're only as good as your last game.
That's a great point.
And with the kids and the players, this is the time of year, January, February, March, redefine you as a parent and show that coach how committed you are to improving and getting better. There's nothing you can do about the coach that's the bah humbug coach. You can't do anything about it. That's who they are. They've defined themselves. So if you're the parent and the kid and a coach that's not changing, you redefine yourself and find a way to say, listen, I'm going to either turn this around for me, my own personal needs and wants. Like if I'm a parent, I'd be like, hey, be a little selfish. Like this team's not going anywhere. Like you need to get better. Like if you want to be stuck in this situation next year, just keep doing what you're doing. So redefine who you are. And the ironic thing is when you improve yourself and you improve your own attitude, you do improve the team. So the team will get better. And I think when that happens, everyone wins, but it has to start with one group of parents, one group of players, regardless of what the coach is feeling, tired, bitter, they've defined you. Then you need to redefine yourself and say, okay, what do I want to do for the next 3 months?
Great advice.
Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna piggyback on that. I'm gonna take it from a different point of view, Mike. Christie, you had asked what can be done. Well, I'm gonna answer that, and this applies to coaches, but it really does apply to everybody. When I go to the rink now, and I've been experiencing this for the last few years, I experience immense gratitude anytime I step into a hockey rink now. And I think that that's sorely lacking, at least in the area that I'm in. I can't speak for the whole country, but when I walk in the arena, sometimes I hear, I don't think it's real, but I hear, oh, here again, we're here again. You know what, guys? There's no place else I'd rather be outside my family, right? There's no place else I'd rather be than at the arena. I feel that every time I walk in, and I tell myself, man, thank goodness I'm here because I love it here. Whether I'm on the ice as a coach, as a player, on the bench, as a spectator watching my kids, I just feel immense gratitude for every moment I get to spend in an ice hockey rink. And I think that's where you got to kind of center yourself a little bit, especially this time of year where that's all we've been talking about for the last month and a half is gratitude, gratitude, gratitude. Don't forget, and I actually wrote this down, you love this game. You love what you do. You're not doing this if you don't. There's no way. Sometimes that can be a stubborn love. All right. Sometimes you go to that rink no matter what because you sound grumpy, but it's because you love it. Even the grumpy coach loves it, or you're not going to be there. If you don't love it, if you really hate doing this, you need to stop. All right. And my gut's telling me 99.9% of you, that's not the case. Okay. But you got to walk in feeling that love for the game. And I'll tell you what, Mike, to your point, Christy, to your point, if you don't think your players feel that love, you are crazy. You're crazy. All right. And again, look, it's kind of a new age in talking about this stuff. When you share the love for the game, some magical things can happen. And I'll tell you what, I am not saying winning games doesn't matter, but I'll tell you what, there's a higher level to youth hockey than just winning games. And when you love coaching and love developing and the kids feel that, I'm going to say it. And again, I'm not trying to sound like all holiday here, but it's a magical thing. You get an hour once a day, maybe, to experience this magic. Don't waste it on being grumpy. So that's where I come back to. And yeah, look, we all have tough days. Don't get me wrong. One of the best pieces of advice I got as a kid, I think I was 17 years old. I was having a really bad day. I won't go into what was happening, but I got to the rink and my coach could see it. I was not okay. And he talked to me and he asked me what's going on. And I told him all the things that were going on that day. And he said kind of succinctly, I understand you need to leave all of that outside the arena. When you're here, this is your sanctuary. And he was 100% right. Right. And it's like, I try and bring that every day. And Mike, it's funny. When I was a younger coach, did not have that ability. When I was a younger coach, it was all, nope, got to work, got to win, got to do that. And it's like, I'm not that having kids or anything age has softened me up. You just realize, guys, we're so fortunate to get to play this game or coach this game. And I think you have to root yourself back into that every day, not just now. This is kind of your reminder, I guess, but every day. And I'll say this, Christy, I'll throw it back to you. Look, I have been so blessed to have won a lot in my hockey life. But where I'm at now, it's like when I see a kid get a skill, like the winning's great, guys, but that's my win now. It's like, wow, we're developing. We're becoming better. To see that sparkle in their eye. Again, I'm not trying to wax poetry here, but when you see that, I got it. That's why I'm here now. All right? That's why I do it. And that kind of stuff, guess what that leads to? Leads to winning eventually, if not right away. So that's my answer to your question, Christy, is just you have to walk in, take a moment. I love this game. I love being in the rink. There's nowhere else I'd rather be. Parents, God bless you. Look, I'm one of them too. Oh, yeah, another game today. Oh, God. 17th time this. I get it. Isn't it great that we're here together? Yeah. Isn't this wonderful? You got to change the polarity on that.
Yeah. I just had this conversation this weekend. I got invited to one of my friends they have a 7-year-old who plays hockey, and he was in a tournament, and they said, oh, come and watch. We'd love for you to come and hang out with us. Okay. So I'm in the stands with the 7-8-year-old parents, and kind of took me back in time, which was great. But unfortunately, the yapping in the stands has gotten much worse.
Oh, yeah.
So their team wasn't doing great. The kids are 7 years old. I'm kind of sitting in the middle with all these moms who are, screaming, skate,
shoot,
and everything. I'm like, oh, man, I forgot about all this.
Yeah.
So, but it was louder than what I remember. And everybody was yelling it, not just we used to have one or two yappers, right? Everybody's yelling it. And then a kid takes a shot on the net. The goalie covers it. Hey, this is a 7-year-old goalie, covers it. And then the whistle isn't called, right? The goalie gets up, and another player from the other team scoots in and scores. Oh, they went wild.
Yeah.
And a woman behind me is shaking my shoulders saying, did you see that? That's not a goal. And I'm like, ma'am, let go of the shoulder,
Get off of
please.
me.
I can't believe they didn't do
I
it for
let go
replay.
of
They
the,
didn't do
I'm
it for
old,
replay?
let go of the shoulder. And she's shaking me. Do you see how these refs, they're terrible. They're not making, that's why we're losing. And all the moms were crazy. And I said,
Yeah.
can I tell you something, ladies? I guarantee you, 10 years from now, your kid's not going to remember that the ref made a
Or they'll laugh at it.
I
Yeah.
said, I am sitting here, ladies, enjoying this, and I'm, you see me smile the whole time because I love that what your kids are doing out there. They are playing that so hard. They are working so hard. Yeah, they're falling, they're making a lot of mistakes, but they are enjoying it. And you should too.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's a good point, Christy, is to remind parents, for those of you listening, and this is something I deal with every year. You might say, well, we're not having a good season. We're not having a good time. Have you asked your kid that?
Yeah,
We talk about,
exactly.
have you asked your kid if they're having a good time or a bad
Yeah.
time? Because I their answers might surprise you. They don't see the things that we say.
Yeah.
Also, real quick note, when you're have 7-year-old kids on the ice and they're learning how to play hockey, the refs most likely are learning how to ref, or
Yeah.
they're very old and don't know how to ref. No, I'm just
No,
kidding.
honestly, this
Yeah.
was an older ref, and I
Yeah.
know what he was doing what he
Yeah.
was doing.
Let
He
him
just
play.
wanted to keep the game.
Right.
Wanted to keep it in play.
Right.
Because they were getting, I think there was like 2 minutes left.
Yes.
So he just wanted to keep it in play.
End of the world, Christy. Fire and brimstone because of this goal in the game. They're probably not keeping scoring anyway. Listen, I want to keep this moving too. I love that story. We all have a story like that. It's funny, guys. This time of year, with the team building that I do, I get a lot of calls right now, right? And it's usually the same two different situations. It's a team that's trying to get to a championship level and they want to boost, or it's a team that started. It's this specific team. They started the season strong, won 15 games in a row. They were 10 goal on everybody, and now they're not. And they're losing games and they can't understand why, right? That's another reason why this episode is really important, all right? Because this is the time to review. Has your team developed? If you started out getting 10 goal on everybody, and now teams are catching up to you, it means they are developing and you are still the same team. So this is where you want to sit down with your players and check in with them, review with them. What can we get better at? What can we do? Most of the time, my friends, these kids are not capable of doing that on their own. This is why we got to coach them. Parents, by the way, you can do this with your own kid. I encourage the coaches to do it, but you can sit down and just say, hey, you know what? It's a new year. You got a few months left in the season. What are some of the things you want to learn over the next 3 months? What are some of the things you want to get better at? Create, here's a good tip for y'all, a growth mindset towards the end of the season. This applies whether you are kicking butt or losing every game. Like I said, a lot of the tips you're going to hear are the same, whether you're winning or losing right now. If your team chemistry is not working, sit down with your team, meet them where they're at, have conversations. These can be 5-minute check-ins with your kids. How you doing? How's school going? What can we work on this year? If you've developed trust with your players, which I hope to God you have by this point of the season, they'll talk to you. They'll let you know what's going on, right? And if they're not talking to you, or they're just really shy, these kids don't talk, no, that means you haven't established a relationship with them where they feel comfortable talking. Environment is everything. When the correct environment exists, you get the team that you want. If they're closed up and tight and they don't want to talk to you, coaches, that's a red flag. And don't get upset. Don't get frustrated. We got to find a way through that. Do some team building, right? So again, 5-minute tap-ins with each player. If you have assistant coaches, which most of you do, spread it out. You get a defensive coach, have them go to their players, or vice versa, have them switch up just so you can get a fresh voice. I have a team right now that just switched their offensive coach and defensive coach. They switched sides. It's made a dramatic difference. Different voice, different point of view. All right. Again, you got to think outside the box sometimes this point of year. And again, if you're winning, again, I'm a believer sometimes in if it's working, if it's not broken, don't fix it kind of thing. Doesn't mean you can't take a look and just freshen things up a little bit. All right. So wherever you're at in the season, those 5-minute check-ins are really important. I think it's important you do that with your coaching staff too. Take a good broad look at the season and then talk about the short term. What can you do?
Right.
Take a
And
look
Lee,
at,
I think that's a good point, because I think at this point, if you are having a winning season, you can also get overconfident.
completely. I see it
And,
every year.
resting on your laurels is not a good thing
Yeah.
either. Yeah.
I see it every year, Christy, a team that's near undefeated lose at the end of the season
Right.
because they're there. All right.
Exactly.
And I've written about this. The biggest threat to your team during a season is a winning streak and a losing streak.
Right.
All right. Because your mind does crazy things to you during those things. It's about staying even keeled, staying present. There's a whole another episode on that stuff. But now is the time to give those reminders, right? Keeping in mind, too, your kids have just been off school for 2 weeks.
Right.
Especially this year. It's a weird year where most schools are off for 2 weeks for winter break, right? Usually it's not that long, right? So
That's a
just
good
help
point.
your kids reset. Maybe, as you said, Christy, at the top of the episode, play a game. Just get them back into that competitive atmosphere. Remember, it's fun to be here, right? Most likely they want to be there, but just reset a little bit. There's nothing wrong with that, right? Mike, you're nodding a lot. I assume that you agree
I
with
mean,
me.
if you've been listen, if you've listened to the show for the last 3 years, like I don't even know why we talk about team building anymore. It's
Mike,
just
it's
coaching.
been 5 years, Mike. 5 years.
5 years. Well, yeah, but if you've been listening for 3, the first few years,
yeah, I like it. Okay.
first years, I don't know what the hell I was talking about. But I think if you're listen to this on a regular basis, like team building isn't even like that's a frustrating thing for me, because that's just coaching at this point. I mean, like if you're not doing if you are only showing up at 5:05 for a 5:15 practice and leaving at 6:25, and don't do any off ice, don't do any video, don't do anything, you're not coaching. And if you're at this time of the year, if you're sitting in January and you haven't done any of those things, going back to my previous talk, was just then do it.
Yeah, now's the time.
Find a way to add it in, because even if you're having the worst season in the world right now, like like there's a lot of if I'm having a horrible clinic with a bunch of kids and it's a mess, I can guarantee you, if I could create the last 5 minutes to be the most fun that anybody's ever had, nobody will remember the chaos of the first 50 minutes. They just don't. And it's like, go out on a high note, like just figure it out, blast out the fun, create an atmosphere that you want to belong to. And not everyone, most people will forget September and October and November, winning or losing, because all of us care about how our kids feel, even if we don't listen to our kids. Like, I don't really care what my kids think. I said, I don't think you're having fun. Doesn't look like fun to me. So you get that, create a good atmosphere. But I think, to me, you can all be a part of that. If you're a parent that's in that boat right now, tell the coach, hey, coach, I know, put something in their head. I don't know. Hey, coach, I remember at the beginning of the year, you talked about doing this thing. I want to help you do that. Like, I can help you do that now. And the coach is like, oh, thank God. Like, please. Because Christie's point, I'm a family person too. I just went through all the holidays too. I just had to do all my, spring cleanup in January too. Like, I'm out, so I'm out raking leaves right now, and they're all frozen to the ground, because who has time to do it? So I think it's just like, trying to figure out, this is the time of year where you can step in and help. To your point, Lee, create the season you want to create, whether you're a parent, a kid, or a coach. Now's the time you can do it. Not that September wasn't important, but now January is importanter.
Importanter. I love that, Mike. Yeah, that's very good.
Yeah, there's still time to save the season.
Yeah. Well,
and or make a great season greater.
Again,
that's right.
I want to compliment one of the teams I'm working with right now, where, we started the season definitely one of the lower teams in the league, but the kids really get along, and there's a yearning to learn, right? And what's cool now, when I can reflect on the season where we're at, where we started, we had so many issues in terms of like gameplay issues, right? Things we had to fix. And you can see the progression of this team, and that we've accomplished, okay, we've got that down. We've got this down. And now we can look towards the end of the season, or I should say the next few months, with, if we can now get these 2 or 3 things now down, we're going to be in a great position to compete the way we want it to be. And maybe, the way youth hockey works, maybe even challenge for something. But that development progression, to me, that is such a win for this season, no matter what our record is. And I love coaching these kids because the environment there, they want to learn. They ask great questions. They get better every game. And yeah, a lot of times it's like a 3 steps forward, 1 step back situation. But what progression isn't, right? Like I've rarely worked with a team where every practice is great and we win and we learn every just better and better and better. You have to go backwards sometimes to go forwards. You have to learn things. So I think reviewing that process as a coach and coaches is really important. To Mike's point, coaches at this point of the season, you've been making your drills, you've been making your practices, it becomes monotonous, right? Rethink things a little bit, right? I always say this too, just from a tactical standpoint, Mike, fundamentals are so important. You should have your fundamental drills that you do, and you should hopefully evolve on them. But maybe sit down with your team and say, look, when we started this season, man, we had a problem with the breakout. We had problems passing. We couldn't get it across the real road. We had this issue. We had that issue. We solved 4 of those 5 issues. That's how far you kids have come along, right? We're making great progression. I know maybe the record doesn't show that, or maybe the record does show that, but we've got so much more to learn. Let's get excited to learn here the rest of the season. It doesn't matter where your team's at. That's a good message to have. Get the kids excited to learn. I always think about this too, getting to the end of the episode here, but like college 100 years ago was all about advancing the science of what you were trying to learn. Like you want to show up excited to learn, or even out of college, just learning a skill set, right? Someone's going to teach me how to sew today. I can learn how to do that. Maybe that's not the best example, but like, where has that excitement gone, right? Bring that to the rink. How exciting is it? We're going to learn something new you can do today. That's not a Michigan, and that you can learn how to do this and play the game better. That's what I think needs to be reset, right? You don't want to go into January with monotony and just like, all right, guys, let's get back into it and let's do these same 5 drills we've been doing all season. Man, that's not fun at all, right? Do something fun, do something, get them going. Christie, back to you. I don't know.
Yeah, you're right, because there can be a tendency to just, let's just get through the rest of the season.
Yeah, what's that?
Let's make this the best part of the season.
Yeah, don't make it a groaner.
Turn it around.
Yeah, don't make it a groaner. Don't make it a groaner. Yeah, again, gratitude, right? Let's get through this. Do you know where else you could be right now? Right? You could be doing something you don't want to do. And again, when you reset, when you get back, this is the other one. Mike, you'll laugh at this too as we close this out, is that coaches, all right, we're going to skate hard because you've been off for a week. Let me kill you guys out there. Yeah, that's exactly what they need right now, right? You know how to get kids to skate hard? Competition. Throw them into a game right at the beginning of practice. They will skate harder than you can imagine. If you put them on the lines and start doing line skates, what are you expecting? But you're creating a tryout evaluation situation. Let's see who's eating too much turkey and ham. I don't know why I'm turning into a professional wrestler when I just listen here, brother. When you get on what are you doing? Go out there. Hey, we're gonna have a tournament today. 2-minute rounds, 3-on-3. I guarantee you, coaches, your kids will skate hard. Okay,
Agreed.
And they'll be feeling great, and they're back to hockey, and now they want to play again. Mm-hmm. Let's go around the horn for closing arguments from the court.
Yeah.
Michael Benelli on the prosecution.
No, just, kill the monotony, get out there, have some fun, build some competition. I mean, I haven't had a practice in 6 years that didn't start with a game. So I don't even understand why you would do drills. Personally. Right. That's just me.
I've seen it.
I'm just like, okay, get on, do the circle drills. Okay. Do your inside, outside edge drills. Bored out of your mind. So just get out there, beat each other up, have some competition, have some fun, get in there with the kids, play a little bit. And I think, you can create, just like we do all the time as coaches, right? You get out of the car, you close the door, you change your face, and you reset your mind, and you go in there and you give the kids a great, experience. And then you could go home and drink. But just get there and be present and be active and be grateful that you have an opportunity to work with all these great families and great kids. It's only like 10% that throw you off. So don't listen to them.
Christie, your closing argument.
Yeah, you're 100% right, Mike. You hit all the high points, especially if you're having a lot of low points in the season. So there are ways to get creative, And you're right, coaches need to just change that face, change the attitude, and get back to feeling like it's the beginning of the season. Start fresh, hit the reset button. Same thing with parents. And there are things you can do as a team to make the last 3 months fun. It doesn't have to be a drag, boring, and let's hurry up and get the season done. Savor this time, as Lee said. This is the greatest time of your life, and treat it like that.
And I'll just close by saying, remind yourself, you love this. You love this. Your kids love this. If you don't love this, you need to rethink this. And if no one's told you, from Christie Casciano Burns, Mike Benelli, and myself, Lee Elias, if no one's told any of you this, we appreciate you. You're doing a great job. All right, parents, coaches, kids, you're doing a great job. I mean that. All right, if you're showing up every day still, I want you to know from the three of us, you're doing great. That's going to do it for this edition of Our Kids Play Hockey. Storm into the year 2025. We made it the quarter century mark. We're ending this episode. We'll see you on the next Our Kids Play Hockey. Everybody take care. We hope you enjoyed this edition of Our Kids Play Hockey. Make sure to like and subscribe right now if you found value wherever you're listening, whether it's a podcast network, a social media network, or our website, ourkidsplayhockey.com. Also, make sure to check out our children's book, When Hockey Stops, at whenhockeystops.com. It's a book that helps children deal with adversity in the game and in life. We're very proud of it. But thanks so much for listening to this edition of Our Kids Play Hockey, and we'll see you on the next episode.